So I mentioned earlier about an IEP, an individual education plan, and I'd like us to just talk through what this is. Many people have heard of this term, but really don't understand what it is and what it means and how they even go about navigating it. Sometimes schools will just present you with a piece of paper and they'll tell you this is your child's IEP, and it will have all this writing on there, and you can read it and think, what on earth is this? What does this mean? What am I supposed to do with this? So let's unpack what an individual education plan is. So it is simply a personalized plan to help your child to learn. It should be a very simple document that is understandable with language that you can understand. If you are given a document and it has loads of words on it and you have no idea what it's talking about, ask your school to simplify it for you so that you are able to understand what it says and you are able to follow it. An individual education plan is made up of three very key components. What are the goals? So what the goals are related to where your child is struggling, where they need to develop, where they need to strengthen. So a goal will be set in accordance with that. Once that goal is set, what's the teacher going to do to help your child achieve that goal? What strategies is the teacher going to employ to ensure that your child can meet the goal that's been set? And what support is going to be available? Who is going to do what and when? So the plan needs to be very specific about how it meets your child's needs. It needs to be measurable. So what time are we talking about? Are we talking about by the end of this term, by the end of this school year, within 3 months, within 6 months? It has to be time bound and measurable. So by the end of term 1, your child will be able to achieve X, Y, and Z. The teacher will do this, and this, and the strategies we will use in class will be this, and this. And at home, and this is the key bit that I need you all to really understand, it should identify what you as a parent or caregiver can do at home. So at home, this is what parents or the caregivers can do to support this goal to be achieved. And this is what it will look like when your child has achieved that goal. So what I would like us to do, I'd like us to just look at some examples and just go through that process again. And then we're going to look at some examples of what a target could look like. So you start off with a goal. What is the need? Identify the need of the child. So it might be that your child is struggling to remember their phonics. It might be that your child is struggling with attention and focus. It might be that your child is not reading at the level that they should be. So these are the steps to create your IEP. Identify the need. So that need could be what you have observed as a parent, what the teacher has observed as a teacher, any other professionals involved with that child, what they may have observed and have fed back. That actually, I notice I take Justina for English, and I've noticed in English that she really struggles when it comes to comprehension and answering comprehension questions. So I'd like us to have an IEP that looks like how we support her to develop her comprehension skills, for example. The next step is to meet with the team. Now, what a lot of schools do is they create these IEPs and then they present it to the parent. A good IEP involves the parent in the creation. So even if the school starts it, they will give it to the parent to review and to input and give their own feedback before it is finalized. You should not be getting a finalized IEP that you haven't contributed to as a parent, because that means that your voice hasn't been included in that document. And therefore, what you do at home is going to be something separate to what the school are doing. There has to be a joined up approach. You need to know what the school is doing. The school needs to know what you're doing, so that together you're working together to support the achievement of that goal that has been set for that young person. So once you have that meeting and you agree, yes, we do need an IEP, These are the areas that I think we should focus on. These are the areas that we think we should focus on. The plan is then written, and the goals and the support services are documented on the plan. So who is going to do what? If there is a 20-minute intervention every day on phonics, who is going to be delivering that? Is it the teacher? Is it the support assistant? Is it the Senko? Is it an external person that's coming in? Who's going to do that? Once all of that is agreed, then the IEP is approved, and that is the plan that everybody is working towards, everybody is working from. So every teacher that is teaching your child should have this plan in front of them as they're creating their lesson plans, and they should be incorporating these goals into their lesson plans so that everybody is continually working on these goals. Because if only one person is working on it and 5 others are not, it's unlikely your child is going to achieve it. Because remember what we said earlier about consistency and practice. This has to be a daily, weekly occurrence over a period of time in order for the goal to be embedded and it to be something that the child will carry through with them. So here are some examples. So we're going to look at early years in the first instance. So you have a child who is 4 or 5 at the top end of early years. The target is that by the end of the next term, the child's name, Justina, will be able to recognize and correctly identify 10 out of 15 common phonic sounds, such as s, a, t, p, n, during a one-to-one phonics session with the teacher or support assistant. So remember what I said about it has to be clear what needs to be done, the strategy that's going to be employed, and who's going to do it. Yeah. So the teacher or the support assistant is going to do that. The parents, you know that the letters that are going to be focused on for this term are the letters S, A, T, P, N, the phonic sounds S, A, T, P, N. If you don't know what the phonic sounds are, and it's okay not to know, because not everybody's been trained on this. You can Google it, you can go on YouTube, you can ask your child's teacher to just explain to you and sound it out. And it's really important that you know how what the mouth should look like when making those sounds. So get the teacher to do a little 10, 20 minutes training with you and give you an example of how those sounds sound. And then when you're out, you're shopping, you're in the shops, you're at home, you could be practicing that all the time. You don't have to sit the child down and do a lesson with them. It can just be part of every day. You can use family names to be the one. So if you have a family member who's called Sewa, 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 oh, Sewa's name. You can have pictures, there's loads of things, and make it animated and fun so that it's not a chore and it's not boring. If you have a primary school child, for example, someone aged between 7 and 9, the target could be by the end of the school year, Justina will read 50 new high frequency words such as and, the, was correctly at the rate of at least 10 new words per month during weekly reading practice with the teacher or support assistant. So each month, we've got a new month coming up. So the month of November, we will have a list of the 10 words that we're focusing on this month. And those 10 words, we will practice the sound phonetically. We will practice what that word looks like in sentences by itself and then in sentences. We will look for that word in different texts, and we will continually practice. If we need to make songs up about it, we can make songs about it. We can make up stories surrounding it. So you can do a sentence and then you let the child put where the and the and the was, or whatever the other words are. Let them insert the words into the story that you're making up. What they hear is important before what they see, before what they apply. So let's look at what a secondary example would look like. So for a child typically aged between 12 to 14, and one of the things that the caveats I want to make for you is your child could be chronologically of this age, but they could be operating at a younger age when it comes to reading and reading fluency and writing. So you may have a secondary school age child whose reading levels are at a primary school age. So although they might be 12 to 14, they might be reading at a 5 to 6 year old level or a 7 to 8 year old level. So you need to also bear that in mind when you're setting your targets. So for the secondary school pupil, the target could be by the end of the term, Justina will use text to speech software to independently read and summarize one assigned text per week of 100 to 150 words from their English class, achieving a 70% accuracy rate in comprehension test. So you will have a piece of text that they will be able to listen to independently, read, and they'll be able to summarize what they have heard and what they have read, and they'll be able to write it out in about 100 to 150 words within their English class or on the back of their English class. And when you look at the comprehension test, they will be getting at least 70% correct, because 70% correct is a place to celebrate, and then you know how to move them forward so they're working towards the 100%. You don't aim them at 100% to start off with, because then you're setting them up for disappointment or failure if they can't achieve 100%. So 70% is a really good starting point to look at aiming for them to achieve, and then you take it on from there. So these are just some examples that you can use to look at and see, is the IEP target that's been set for my child, is it specific? So we know exactly what's going to be learned. Is it measurable? We know how long it's going to be for. Is it achievable? Does it reflect the stage of learning that my child is at? Is it realistic? Can my child move from point A to point E in the time span that we've been given? And is it time bound? So we know when we're gonna assess if it's been achieved. So that school term, that school year is time bound. So none of this is achievable unless the school and the home work together. Schools cannot do it on their own. Parents cannot do it on their own. So it's really important that you are in good communication and you are working in partnership. So how do we do that? First of all, have open communication. Keep in regular contact. Make time to meet with your child's teacher on a regular basis, whether it be weekly, fortnightly, monthly. Don't leave it until parents' evening or parent-teacher conferences to find out how your child is doing. Even if it's a WhatsApp, an email, a telephone call, or a face-to-face meeting or a virtual meeting, have regular communication to see how your child is doing, any areas of concern that have been flagged up, but also to share how you are doing at home, what's working at home, what you've noticed, what's not working, what you're concerned about. Support your child's learning at home. Find simple ways to help them. So create a time that is protected for them to be able to do their work. Don't be giving them household chores that they have to do before they can do their work, or give them the pressure. You've got 20 minutes, and then after that, we need to do X, Y, and Z. You need to go and clean your room. You need to go and cook. You need to go and do activities. Give them plenty of time to help them. Make sure your language is positive and encouraging. Don't demean them. Don't say, oh, as for you, I don't know about you. I don't know how this is going to work. You need to do this work, because if you don't do this work, this is what's going to happen to you. There's nothing worse than a child going into an activity that they're already nervous about, and then they've got more anxiety because they know they're going to get in trouble in some way or another from the adult that they desperately want approval from. Celebrate progress. As Barbara pointed out, it's really important to recognize your child's successes, recognize what they are doing well, and celebrate that. Exaggerate the celebration if you have to, because it will motivate them to keep trying. If they think that they are failing, like I said before, what's the why try? Why continue? So please celebrate their progress, no matter how small it may seem. Celebrate their progress. So we have this IEP. We now know what home is doing. We know what school is doing. Now, who is responsible for the IEP? And sometimes in my work, what I found is parents have an expectation that the school will do everything and the school is responsible. and the parents and the school believe that actually, look, we've done our bit, we've created a form, that's the end of it, we don't need to think about it. That is not the case. The school, the teachers, the Senko, and the support staff are responsible for the IEP. The parents are responsible for checking progress and staying in touch. And all of the people involved are responsible for regular reviews and updating the plan when it's needed. So when you have a review, if the child hasn't achieved the goal, don't create a brand new goal. Adjust that goal to see. So maybe they didn't achieve it because we didn't give enough time. Maybe they didn't achieve it because the person who was supposed to support them, maybe they were off sick, so they didn't get as much support. Maybe they didn't achieve it because actually we realized maybe it was too ambitious and we need to scale it down a bit. Maybe they did achieve it and they achieved it really quickly, which means we underestimated how well they could do. And so now we need to think about what will offer them the most input, but also give them a little bit of challenge and a little bit of stretch to get them to really try. So the simple answer to that is everybody's responsible for the IEP. Everybody. The teachers, the Senko, the support staff, and the parents, caregivers are all responsible for the IEP. And it's really important that you all continue to have that conversation and check in regularly to see how well you are all doing in your respective areas. So, what now? We've looked at how to support the emotional well-being of your children. We've looked at the importance of their mental health, their growth mindset, supporting them, celebrating, making sure that they really know that you 100% are behind them, that you as teachers, you support them, you celebrate them, and you recognize. We've listed some support resources for you as parents, but also educators are also able to tap into these and garner information and support from them. Please take a screenshot of them, but all of this information is also available on our website. So you are able to access it from our website, which is www.africadyslexia.org.